what we're trying to do in this spiritual endeavor, it's just a piercing through of illusion, right? But that's easy to say. It's easy to say. It's a piercing through of illusion. It sounds like a spiritual teaching you've heard 1,000 times before. But what does that actually mean? Well, to find out what it means, I think we have to sort of begin from the holistic view, let's say. You could call it the enlightened view. The enlightened view is seeing, perceiving, experiencing the underlying unity of existence. That's the fundamental insight. That is also to discover who and what we are. But we're actually starting, you see, from wholeness. What does that mean, wholeness? Like, we have all these ideas of wholeness, fanciful ideas, a lot of them about wholeness. Wholeness, in a spiritual sense, is found by going to the very source of our experience of being. Or you could say, the source of the mind. So as soon as we begin to sort of experientially orient ourselves towards source, right? Then we're not clinging, we're not grasping at what arises, because we're oriented towards source. So even we pretty much know not to cling to the stuff that causes us suffering. We know not to do that. Whether we do that or not is a whole other question, right? But in theory, we know not to grasp the thing that causes suffering. But what we don't necessarily know as clearly often is not to grasp at all the good stuff. Because you see, duality, that's duality. Good, bad. I like it, I don't like it. If we're grasping at any side of duality, even the really good side of duality, you're going to bring the other side along with you, right? So if we're grasping, trying to hold on to happiness, peace, joy, whatever, by the very effort of grasping onto those, you will bring along with them their opposites, because everything arises like that, right? Everything in manifestation, everything arises in this interplay of opposites. But the deeper spiritual insight is, although the world is this interplay of opposites, the opposites actually are the expression of a unified field, of a unified ground, of the ground of being. The dualities of life, all of them, are just an arising, an expression of that ground. And that ground always expresses itself through the dualities. And those dualities, as we all know, has a sort of, they're always interacting, right? There's an energy there that they're interacting with. And so as long as we're grasping at a duality, we always get the opposite end of the duality to come along with it. And that kind of makes sense. If I say this striker for the bell, right? If I grasp onto one side of it and pull on it, I'm going to get the other side of it too. I pull on this side, I'm going to get that both sides, right? I can pull it up. Either way, it doesn't matter which side of duality I'm grasping. If I'm grasping, I'm getting the whole thing, right? And that's kind of important, because well, like I said, we tend to know, or we have almost a built-in preference not to suffer. It's not always so clear that we're not grasping onto the really good stuff. There's nothing wrong with the good stuff that comes along in life, or internally or externally when it arises. by all means experience it, right? But if we indulge it or grasp it, then we eventually get its opposite. It's just sort of the way things work here. It's just the way duality works, and it works in a physical sense, with a striker. It works in a psychological sense, in many ways. Right? Duality is its own kind of, has a certain kind of illusory quality to it, right? Because at the surface level, dualities almost seem to be in competition, right? It's hot or it's cold, and these two never seem to meet. It's right or it's wrong, and these two never seem to meet, right? So when the dualities manifest, they don't seem to be coming together very much. Good and evil, right? God and the devil. How far out do you want to take the dualistic perspective, right? And this is it gives this kind of illusion that these dualities that are in relationship, sometimes in competition, that they are actually are dualities, that they are, in the end, they are separate. Hot is inextricably separate from cold, right? Left is inextricably separate from right, and so it goes. And yet that's not the way anything in the world is it? They don't arise like that. Like I said, this striker, the right, you don't get the right-hand side without getting the left-hand side along with it. It comes as a whole. And so as long as we're grasping at duality, we're grasping at the whole of a duality without even knowing it often. So the thing that can free us from that push-pull, the turmoil at that sort of level of our consciousness is a kind of intuitively reorienting towards the source.